questions.
Welcome to the Wrestling Realm Presents Championship Culture. And yes, this is season 2. I'm Brandon the Guy, and of course, I'm joined by the super producer as the third. Or let me say it right: H to the A to the S to the T to the H to the E to the 3 to the R to the D. I can't say it as good as some people, but you know what? He's here tonight. And before we get started, gotta remind you of a couple quick things. Did you know that you can watch all of the Wrestling Realm content at any time just by going over to one little place? That one little place being youtube.com/the Wrestling Realm. This will include all 25 episodes of season 1 of Championship Culture under the playlist Championship Culture. And we threw in there a bonus episode around Christmas time. But when you get a chance after tonight's show, go over to youtube.com/the Wrestling Realm and check out all of that. Now, if that's enough to get you going, don't forget you can follow us on all social media platforms, which include Instagram, Threads, X, and Facebook, just by using at Wrestling Realm. And you can follow Championship Culture _ on Instagram. Don't forget to like and subscribe and engage in the conversation, because trust me, that's what we're here for, and we're going to engage in that conversation tonight because we got a couple things to discuss. Now, you can download all of our audio content on Anchor, Stitcher, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can watch and subscribe to our Twitch channel at The Wrestling Realm. Now, in a couple days, we're going to be in Philly for that. What is it considered now? The biggest WrestleMania of all time?
Yep.
WrestleMania XL, right?
Yep,
But
yep.
if you haven't
Extra
got your
large.
tickets, actually, super size, right? If you haven't got your tickets already, guess what? The brothers at the Wrestling Room want to help save you some money. Now, how are we going to save you some money? If you go over to SeatGeek.com and enter the promo code Wrestling Room, it's going to save you $20 on any purchase of $50 or more. And here's an exclusive: all the tickets are over $50. So why not let Wrestling Room save you $20 just by going to SeatGeek.com and using that promo code of Wrestling Room? So I think that's all of it. Or did I forget something, brother? I think we
Big
forgot one of
plan.
the most important things today. It's 8
Yeah, I
o'clock
think
at
so
night.
too.
It's almost
Hmm.
8:30, right? And we
Yeah.
were remiss if we did not wish the realness himself a very, very happy birthday. So I wonder if he's watching. I don't think he wants anybody to know, but happy birthday to the realness. Take respect of Iversity CEO of the real Dwayne Allen. Happy birthday, brother. Can't wait to see you in these comments because I know you're going to be a disruptor. You got some things that you want to say about that. But yes, the 6'12" phenomenon has turned today. So that's his age, and that's what we're going to leave it at. So, brother here, how are you feeling
Yes, sir.
tonight?
I am stupendous.
Stupid, like a WrestleMania stupid? Are we
Yes,
going to use more
sir.
WrestleMania puns?
We bringing it back. Stupendous.
I'm going to say I'm spectacular. So check this out. Um, you know what that means. It must be Tuesday. And happy WrestleMania weekend. Don't forget, happy birthday, brother Realness. Oh, look who's in there now to tell us. You know what? Always. Happy birthday, brother. Can't
Oh,
wait for the
buddy.
shenanigans to happen. They're probably happening right now. So that's all
Yep.
I'm gonna say about that. So, brother Hugh,
Yes, sir.
from today's graphic, right?
Hmm.
What could you tell that this was going to be about today? Because as the
Um,
eagle eye viewer may notice, if you look above me, there's a spot missing, right? I
Right,
want to
right,
let
right.
people know what belt is missing from there because generally on championship culture, we like to talk about, you know, some of the belts in my collection. Oftentimes, we talk about the belts that's not in my collection according to the realness, right? But
Hmm,
today,
hmm.
there's a belt missing. Do you remember what happened on November 22nd, 2019, right
No, no.
before Survivor Series? Do you remember what happened?
Can you enlighten me? I mean, I don't really remember. My memory's too bad.
Yeah, I don't think
I
that the
mean,
belt is missing. It's just been repositioned, right?
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
in previous episodes of Championship Culture, we talked about a belt that has run through the bloodline. And we had
Hmm.
hoped that that Monday Night Raw, we would add another addition to that lineage of this belt, right? And we
Right.
posed questions too. But let's talk about this belt in question. If you haven't figured it out by now, we're talking about the belt, well, the version that Shinsuke Nakamura was gifted by, ironically, Sami Zayn. So this was during a controversial time in WWE.
Yep.
So yes, good. I'm so glad he said that because it was RIP to the white strap. A lot of people love the white strap, but I'm gonna give you a little bit of belt knowledge. The white strap came back with one said Cody Rhodes. I don't know if he was dashing at the time or was he had been undashing. Was he dashing again or was he just Cody Rhodes at the time
I
when
think
he
he was just
debuted?
Cody Rhodes at the time.
He debuted a white strap, but a lot of people don't realize that was a nugget texture on it. And through some lawsuits that's happened with WWE, they changed it to
Hmm.
more of a classic look. But
Right.
in 2019, this was the new version of the belt. We're going to get to my side plates in a moment. But this belt was debuted to some, I don't want to say mixed feelings, but I think it still has mixed feelings to this day, right? I'm going to
Yep.
ask you, brother, here, was it the right time to debut this belt?
Well, at first I didn't think so because I love the white strap. I love that classic look, and you know who carried that strap very well and proudly. But
Was it the man that signed mine?
yeah,
Was it
yeah,
the guy that's
yeah,
okay?
it was a guy, the one that signed yours. But
Incredible, everybody.
but yeah, I wasn't really a fan of that design when it first happened.
Really?
So yeah, I
Let me
wasn't really a fan of it.
just sit it right here so that people can see it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not viewing this, I have the current version of the Intercontinental title on the black strap, of course, with all black, no gems, just black and gold, right? And I think when they changed it, it was kind of trying to remove some association with Cody because we all call that the Cody strap, right? Because he brought it back.
Yep, yep.
Um, so a lot of people associate with that, but somebody said it was time. I think that oftentimes us wrestling fans, we need a change that will um, show us the sexy graphic of that belt. Sometimes us wrestling fans, we need a change. We need something different. But at the end of the day, does WWE need to make money? So why not change the belt, right? Why not change
Yeah.
things up, right? So
Hmm.
when this came, do you think Cody was the cause of a changing, or do you think it was just time for a change? Because the birthday man said it was time for a change. I think it was because of Cody's popularity and the association with it. It was forced to change.
That might have been like the main factor, but to be honest, it definitely was time to change it. I just didn't like the design at the time, so like I said, I wasn't ready. I don't adapt well to change, but it took me some time to get used to it.
So with change comes a different lineage and a different way that we look at things, right? Because
Hmm.
when you think about when it went from the days of, let's say, even from the Attitude Era to the I'm sorry, pre-Attitude Era to the Attitude Era when it went to the Oval IC versus the
Right,
other one, it was a warrant change and it made you pay attention to it differently. But then it kind
right,
of fizzled out. Then it went to the Cody version and it kind of became hot and it was hot at different times. It was more eyes on the product at times. And what I want to discuss tonight is about this belt in almost a short time from 2019 to where we are now.
hmm,
Does the wrestler make the belt prestigious? Or does the title reign define the wrestler? Because
mm,
think about this. You said Dolph Ziggler was one of your favorites with the white strap, right?
absolutely,
But we can't not talk about the Miz when it comes to the white strap, right?
absolutely. You got to
Regardless
throw
of
Kofi
when,
in there too.
yeah, you got to Kofi for the oval and the white too.
Right.
Like, remember, he had both versions. But
Yep.
wait, what I want to dive into when this belt came about, was Shinsuke Nakamura the right person to debut this? And you know I'm a Shinsuke person. You know I like Shinsuke.
Mm.
Was
Well, I
Shinsuke
was down.
character at the time strong enough to
Hmm.
debut a new belt?
I believe so. Yeah. He needed something. He needed to be recognized as the great talent that he is. There was no spot for him in the main event scene or whatnot, and he needed to be solidified as a character or as a performer. So why not give him the strap? Why
But
not?
remember, he had Sami Zayn as his mouthpiece.
Yeah.
He was having not Shinsuke level matches. He was having decent matches. And to Realness point, he said, we last remember the Miz and Daniel Bryan who made that title relevant in the main event scene. And I
Hmm.
feel like the Miz just kept being default that champion. And of course, every time he had it, he made it feel like a big deal. But
Yeah.
we had 10 years of the Miz to make it know what his work was. We were still kind of, I don't want to say sad on Shinsuke not winning the world title. And yes, he won
Yeah.
the Royal Rumble, his awesome reign at NXT, which probably won't be duplicated. We're seeing some
Right.
shades of it. But I think what hurt the belt is not only did he have it, and when we look at a who's who, Braun Strowman was the next person to get it, and this was his first major singles title.
Hmm. Hmm.
Did Braun feel like a right person at the time? Because I know, I think it's Dwayne that says that he hates when the big guys have these little belts where they don't seem like they fit right. This it feel like it fit his character for this big monster behemoth getting the quote unquote lineage of the Intercontinental belt. Was Braun a good choice to dethrone Shinsuke?
I mean, he was hot at the time. Big
Was he
bad
really?
dude. He wasn't like he was one of the bigger guys. Everybody was behind him. You know, he was on that run where he was nobody could stop him. He was an unstoppable force at that point in time.
Except
So
for
why
Brock
not give it to
Lesnar
him?
or
The
Samoa
fan
Joe.
the fans loved him at that time though.
Okay,
To be honest,
but to your point,
I
look,
don't I don't I don't like him in. I didn't like him in the IC division though. Like I didn't think he needed the belt at that point in time. I would have
but
rather
if he
gave it to
did need the
somebody
belt,
else.
what
But
would you
yeah,
have done with him? What would you have been doing?
He's-
Would you have Braun go straight to that Universal title, which he eventually made his way to? Or do you think this was a good stepping stone for him?
well, of course now since it happened, yeah, it's a good stepping stone for him. But he didn't really need the belt to me. Like he could have still been doing feuds with the next big man or the next big name that didn't need to be in the title picture, the main event title picture at that time.
All right. Well, let me pose this question to you
Hmm.
because ironically, Shinsuke was presented this belt by Sammy, right? Sammy was the
Hmm.
one that dethroned Braun. And of course, he was. We're going to always attach this to the COVID era when Sami Zayn was the COVID champion. And a
Hmm.
lot of people seem to forget that, he was having a resurgent at this point because he was the mouthpiece for Shinsuke. Don't know if he was injured. Don't know if it was during that time. But when he had it, it felt like this was the right place for him. This was the right mid card slot for
Yeah.
Zammy to pay attention to. Granted, COVID happened through a lot of things derailed, and I believe that he got stuck where he couldn't come and defend it, so they stripped him of the title. And I love
Right.
the fact that they put it into a storyline when he would come back, because remember, he came back and he was saying, I never lost the title. I'm still Intercontinental Champion. He was even running around with a belt himself, which
Right.
this shows Sami Zayn's body of work where he is completely committed to the task. He's committed to the character. He was committed to getting this belt over. So that brings me back to the question: did the title reign define him as a wrestler? Because his NXT title reign was very short, but it defined him as okay. This is somebody we want to see. Now we get fast forward to the Intercontinental title. Did this define him?
No, I think he made the belt. To be honest,
Okay.
because he I don't think when it first debuted, people weren't too hot on it. So what they did with Sammy, he found a way to elevate that belt and kind of make it relevant at that point in time. Um, it also helped boost this character. Um, Well, actually, it goes hand in hand. Dang, now you know what I'm saying? It goes hand in hand.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like he mostly elevated that belt status. He made it a little bit more prestigious. He brought more eyes to that belt and made it feel important at that point in time. So yeah, I would say probably like 60-40. He made the
Right.
belt.
But
Good.
remember, we got to a point where he was stripped of the title because of reasons, and it was COVID
Yeah,
basically. And
yeah.
Daniel Bryan and AJ got to the last finals of a tournament, and I thought honestly Daniel would have won it, but it wound up being AJ, right? So now we
Yep.
have the phenomenal one who was a former WWE champion, former United States champion, and now he has this belt. And it felt like, okay, right move. Let's put AJ in the limelight. Let's put him as the the face again that runs the place on SmackDown, right? But we
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
didn't get that much from him because then it became a thing where it was like, okay, what's going to happen next? And this is where I think they tried to recreate that magic from that time frame with the Oval IC where everybody was contending for it. But did you
Yeah.
feel like this reign was worth it, or was it eh, eh? What say you?
I'm
And
gonna be on.
I know this is the birthday man's guy. He's my guy too. But let's see what you remember about this title reign. Do you remember this title reign?
Well, he's about to be mad at me because I do not remember this title reign.
I don't know if that's a
I
good
do
or
not.
bad thing, right?
Right.
I feel like this title
Uh,
reign was a check in the box for him to be able to say he's a Grand Slam slash or triple crown, right? Because he would have had the world and
right.
two singles title, and then when he got the tag team, he became a Grand
Right.
Slam. So I feel like this
Right.
might have been a check in the box.
Right.
I knew it
Right.
was coming.
But
He said,
once again, but once again, it's another guy that you have faith in, like Mr. Reliable over in AEW. You can give him the belt and he'll make it happen for you. So I
but
can see them putting it on him for that reason. Go ahead.
was he really reliable when they wound up giving it to a fifth reign to the next person that actually defeated him? Because remember, this was
Hmm.
a rivalry I don't think that we needed to see, but it just became a transitional because we bounced from AJ straight to Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy has now held that was his fifth reign with it, and he had basically the Oval IC. A
Hmm.
bona fide world champion, bona fide Hall of Famer going to this belt. Did it add something to it?
You know how I feel about Jeff Hardy as a singles competitor.
Mm-hmm. So, I like the guy. I love his body of work. I'm hoping that he's good to go. You get what I'm saying? Like, was Jeff Hardy? He was the right person to dethrone AJ, but was he the right person to have this belt at the time?
I
Don't tell me you don't
guess.
remember this.
I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I honestly didn't really pay attention to him because, like I said, I don't really care for Jeff Hardy as a singles competitor, which is totally wrong on my part. But I just don't see him. I just he doesn't resonate with me as a singles competitor at all.
Oh,
But
Jeff.
yeah, Jeff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When
So,
did he lose the? He lost the heavyweight title, right? And then he went to the IC, right?
well, remember, this is when he was back in the company as a singles competitor. I think Matt had just left. I wish
Okay.
Marcelo was here so he could. I think this is when Matt had left and Jeff had been drafted to SmackDown because remember he was like U.S. champion. Him, Randy, and Jinder traded the U.S. championship, and then they was drafted to SmackDown. And it was I think this is right when Jeff left. But according to
Hmm.
Dwayne, of course, he likes to say Jeff is the right guy,
Yeah.
and I think this is Marcus with Four Sides of the Ring. Welcome to the chat. Let us know who was your favorite that held this belt because we're just going through a who's who. Because I promise you, I'm gonna get to the point about answering these questions because I think we're gonna get to it right. But then Dwayne
Hmm.
said both Shinsuke and AJ were also global IC champions, but they were both former IWGP IC title holders.
Right.
But that was a different time frame too. So I'm gonna put this in the notes for tomorrow because we're gonna dissect that, brother. We're gonna break that down tomorrow in the Wrestling Realm at 10:30 on the flagship show, the Wrestling Realm now. But he also says during the COVID time, it was some interesting stories. It was keeping us entertained because like Dwayne said, main event players were carrying the IC title, and it always brings
Yeah.
prestige to the championship. But I think they didn't have enough feuds to make us realize, because I felt like it was just like past. It was passing around. Because that even brings us to our next person, when Sammy unified them. Because remember, Sammy was still running around like he never lost it, but we went from AJ to Jeff Hardy, then back to
Hmm.
Sammy, and he won that ladder match, and he was the undisputed IC champion. And I thought they was gonna have him carry them two belts for a while because
Right.
Sammy can get anything over. Um,
Yeah.
so we're gonna just put this on screen, and because I don't want to say his name
Yeah.
because
You
I don't
want to
want to
say that
have.
name? Yeah.
But according to Marcus, I I agree with him 100%. Johnny Nitro is slept on as an IC champ because he was hanging with the people like Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, RVD, Carlito. He was hanging with quote unquote the big dogs of that division and held his own. And remember some of the things that he did. He was kind of like a okay, if Shelton Benjamin or Kofi wasn't really IC, it was like, okay, John Morrison, here you go. So now let's think about this, right? We're almost to the
Hmm.
point that we're gonna get to.
Hmm.
The person that dethroned Sammy, I felt this was the start of their singles push because this was after the whole split of that infamous trio, which is the most successful trio in um, I think all of WWE at this point. And
Hmm.
Big E got his second title reign, and this title reign felt bigger. I remember watching him win and seeing him come out. Big E has a way of telling you he's going to win. If you ever
Yeah.
watch his entrance, he is amped up like nobody's business every time he wins. If you go back and watch when he won the Intercontinental belt the first time, the white strap, he was just amped. When you see him cash in the Money in the Bank, he's just amped. He says with his whole face, his eyebrows, love this man to death. You could just tell he was going to take it. And it's fitting that in this picture, he had just freshly won this belt and it had Sami Zayn the side plates on it, which I think is crazy with this picture. But this
Right.
felt more important than his first title reign. We were all pushing for Big E to do more, show us that who was that NXT Big E light skin that we had remembered, and who is Big E now, besides being with the New Day. Still coming out, and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is when he had his new music, right?
Yes. I
Comes
believe
out,
so.
new
Yes.
music, still looks like Big E, but it's singles competitor, right?
Right.
I'm telling you, this title reign, he made this feel prestigious because the way that he was carrying it, the matches he was having, and then his biggest feud, of course, was his biggest loss, and the loss fell flat because when the Nigerian person um, won in that was it a Nigerian drum match or whatever that was,
Something like that. Yeah.
I was like,
Like,
this is what
okay.
we're doing. Okay, so Apollo Cruz got it, and it fell flat.
Hmm.
Um,
I kind of like the
this
feud between him and Big E though.
the promo he cut after beating Sammy in that construction. If you
Right.
haven't seen it,
Right.
please go to youtube.com and look that up. He was definitely, this is a segment I would take from the win. He was good for business for this belt. Big E did a lot. Big E is just good for business, period. But when he had this belt,
Facts.
this reign felt more important than his first title reign with the IC. But Apollo Crews,
Hmm.
I'm asking people in the chat,
Hmm.
was this the right person to give the belt to? He had a new gimmick. He was Vince McMahon, new toy. Vince was trying to make it get over. Let's call it what it is. Was Apollo Crews the right person to have this belt? And we're gonna just let this sink in for a second because I want to hear from the people in the comment. Now, mind you, before y'all answer, on my United States belt, I have his side plates,
Yeah.
and I have his side plates because he debuted that new United States belt during that time with Bobby Lashley, the Hurt Business, and MVP. I was high on Apollo Crews at that point. I think his problem was they kept giving him a mic.
Yeah.
I think that's what hurts this reign for him. And I'm waiting to see if somebody going to chime in because I believe had you not gave Apollo Crews a mic and had him with somebody with a mic, it would have been better.
It was the Jamaican Kofi thing all over again.
It was worse because he was a
Yeah, it definitely
heel.
was
That
worse.
didn't. It just didn't. It didn't resonate. And I dare to
I
say
like.
this: when WWE try to do cultural based things, they don't
Hmm.
come off very well because like, and that's probably why I'm having an issue with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate because I don't know enough about that portion of it to be like, oh, I'm getting behind it now. You know what I mean? Like, and I couldn't get behind this because when they had that Nigerian drum fight, I'm like, all it was a bunch of drums around the ring. I want to understand what this is. And just like when they say, whatever city street fight, no, that's not a street fight. Like if they call it the Baltimore City street fight, I'm like, so I live in Baltimore. I know what they expect of the Baltimore City street fight. This is
Right.
not it. You know, like, and to see a Nigerian
Chicken
drum,
boxes and gunfire. Chicken boxes and gunfire.
well, more than that, but we go, we're gonna leave that at that. So we're gonna we're gonna just move on from that. So then the savior of Apollo's bad run was
Hmm.
yet again put it back on Shinsuke, right? But
Yep.
now we had a different Shinsuke because he this run to me felt like you were seeing a little bit of character for Shinsuke, right? And then I feel like
Hmm.
you realized my first run was kind of with this belt was kind of bad. I'm gonna make this one memorable. When he was King Nakamura, all I remember is saying he looked like he's having the time of his life. He looked like this was him. This was just go out there, have some fun. We know you are a former IWGP World Champion, IWGP Intercontinental. You go out there and you just have fun as King Nakamura. And I don't know what it was about this raid. This is one of those ones I think that he deserved to dethrone him because it was such a bad character that
Hmm.
Nakamura had to come with something a little bit lighthearted. Because you can't do a king wrong. The only person to do a king over the top was Booker T and made us really pay attention. Sheamus tried to get the
Absolutely.
king gimmick. It was like, all right, whoopie do. Well, you burn all these people, but guess what? Nakamura was just a whole different king. Like that's why I wish Xavier Woods would have kept his king gimmick,
Yeah.
but you know how that
Yeah.
happened. Somebody put
Yep.
the crown on their head, and that was the last you heard of it. But
Yeah.
King
Head of the
Nakamura's
table.
second reign, right?
Hmm.
And then guess what happened to King Nakamura?
What happened to him, Brandon?
The man who gifted him the belt beat him for it, which to me was hilarious because I was like, what happened? Like, but then it was like, okay, you got it. Most people might not even remember this reign because Sammy won it, and then I feel like he was just a transitional champion to get it on Ricochet.
Hmm.
And when he got it on Ricochet, it's like, okay, did we check a box for Ricochet? Because I think he's the only person in WWE to hold the North American title, the U.S. title, and now the Intercontinental title, right?
I believe so.
And
Yep.
I would say, okay, this is when the prestigious of the Intercontinental title should have brought more eyes to Ricochet because we knew what he could do all those other times. His United States title was cut short and it was just at the scratch of the surface. His North American title was so good and he scratched the surface and he got pulled from NXT. All right, let's do something with the Intercontinental title, right? And it
Right.
was like, you're just gonna hold it till we feed you to Gunther. And it I hate to say this,
So,
was that the right move?
um,
Was he the right person to give it to? Just to let's be honest, because he just got fed to Gunther. 2 months
that
after
is
being
true.
on the main roster, Gunther wasn't it 2 months after we have Gunther now in his historic reign. So
That is
was
true.
that the right move? To not let
Um, I,
Ricochet let me rephrase it, to not let Ricochet show that he's, the WWE superhero and to show all the awesome stuff that he can do. We cut it flat and said, nope, here you go, Gunther.
I
Have
don't
at
think
it.
he's
Here's a belt.
really he's not really appreciated anyway. To
Who
me, like
Ricochet?
Ricochet. He's not used. I feel like sometimes he's not utilized the correct way because he should be one of the biggest superstars out there right now for the WWE. One of the biggest faces out there, just with his in ring talent alone. But as far as the transitional portion of it, I think he was a good choice. He was a good choice. I hate that it had to be him, but he was a good choice because he his star status speaks for itself. And he was somebody that was, like you said, could bring eyes to the title with his high flying antics and whatnot. So why not give it to him? Let him show out for a little while, and then you bring Gunther in, let him do what he do. I think it made sense. Who else would you put in that position,
But did he
or
have
what
to
would have you
lose
done?
that fast to Gunther? I think that's the part that gets me. It was like he just had it, then it's like, okay, let's see. Never mind, he can't do anything. Gunther, you know, it was just like, oh well. Like I feel like that belt would have made more to the U.S. because like the problem with the
Hmm.
U.S. he was up against AJ. We know that
Hmm.
WWE is always going to go with AJ over anybody else because they AJ you can't mess with AJ, right? The
Yeah,
North American title. It was a brand new title. He had dethroned Adam Cole. It made sense, right?
that
He
makes
was
sense.
he was the next up, but then it was like he got yanked from NXT, which I believe that's why he lost it. But look what the NXT North American Championship have done for wrestlers on the roster. So
Yeah,
in a short time, that belt has become prestigious. But because you had the prestigious IC belt, would that have not elevated Ricochet's stock if we would have had a little bit longer?
it could have. You could be right with that. But how would you would have booked it with Gunther coming up?
I would at least had him have a minimum 6 month run or at least
Hmm.
multi PLE defenses to
Hmm.
boost him up so that way you know how Triple H is good at do we put this person in a title match or do we put him back in the
Hmm.
mid card? He would have been able to be a contender and not just a oh he's been enjoying nice catering and then when we need something on Raw, here you go. Oh
Yeah.
he's been enjoying nice catering, then we need something on SmackDown, here you go. Oh it's a multi man match or it's a tournament. It should have been still him in that conversation, kind of like a Chad Gable was used for that notion. Ivar is now putting on these marquee matches, and we didn't even
Hmm.
know that we needed Ivar as a singles competitor. Um,
Sure enough, didn't.
you get so it's like from beautiful accidents, Ricochet should have always been that guy. Like think about it, Shinsuke Nakamura came out of nowhere and was a contender for the world title in 1 week. We was like, oh, we want to see this. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So Shinsuke hasn't had that. I'm sorry, not Shinsuke. Ricochet hasn't had that treatment because for 663 days, we've been
Hmm.
seeing a dominance of Gunther. And the question I want to ask everybody in the chat, and I want to ask everybody, who's next? Because let's be honest, he's made the belt prestigious, and the belt has made Gunther prestigious. Because if you haven't had a chance to watch any of Gunther's NXT UK, any of his NXT matches, WXPW, I think he was in Progress, and anything that he did on the indie scene, if you just
Hmm.
go back and watch, I don't, I don't know who is next. Who's next?
That's a good question, but I don't think Sammy's next.
Well, we know WrestleMania now. Are they on Saturday or Sunday? Because I know the card came out, right?
Is I think he's Saturday.
So if it's
I think
not
he's Saturday.
Saturday, who
Yeah,
does
he's
it
Saturday
then?
because Logan is on Sunday. My bad.
Okay. So you said Sammy is not next, right?
Hmm.
So your prediction is for WrestleMania, Sammy is not going to win it. Did you not see that vignette on Monday?
Yeah, I saw it, but I also saw Chad Gable. You saw when Chad Gable got him in that sleeper and he held it on a little bit too long and too tight.
He was doing that to wake you up. He was doing that to show you. Remember, that's what he said.
Okay, okay, all right. But you also got to remember Chad Gable. He's kind of sour because he kept losing to Gunther.
Well, he made the comment. He said, "I don't want my son to be crying like your daughter." But
Okay.
all
I
right,
feel like
so if
Chad
it's not
Gable.
Sammy, it's
He's
Chad.
gonna yeah, he would be
Who,
an
who,
obvious choice, but I know who you're about to go with.
who
Go
am
ahead
I
and let
gonna
him
go
know.
with? Who am I
Go
gonna
and let
go
him
with?
know.
Don't act like you know me.
Go ahead and
Who am
let
I
him
gonna
go.
go with? Who am I gonna go with?
You've
Because
been
there's only
talking
one
about it forever,
person.
man.
It's only one person that can dethrone Gunther, in my opinion. And you can click this off all the socials. There's only one man that can dethrone Gunther, as
Only
Dwayne would
one
say.
man.
Only one man, and he's gonna play that symphony to the ring, and he's gonna beat the you know what out of Gunther when he does, because it will be
Right.
Gunther versus Ilyanov Part 3 for the
Right.
IC belt.
Right. Our
That's the
current
only
NXT
person.
champion. Yep.
I don't even care if he beat him as the NXT champion. Give him 2 championships. And he said, I don't know if you saw it in the interview. He said he wouldn't be who he was if it wasn't for
Right.
Gunther. He said that.
I
He said
mean,
I would not be the champion. And they've been having a long story history. And
facts.
I said it for a while. Gunther's or Walter, if you want to call him, his gimmick was basically you think you're gonna win, then boom, out of nowhere, I beat you. That's been his gimmick, and he's
Right.
done it without Imperium interference. If you ever
Right.
notice, he is a dominant champion, and
Right.
663 yard days. It might be 64 by now. It might be 62. Don't quote me on that, but
Mm-hmm.
he has made the belt prestigious in the
Yes, he
fact of
has.
we all want to know who's next because every challenger, if Jay didn't win it, I'm like, well, dang, I guess we're gonna hold off for Illinois
Yeah.
because
You
I
have
thought Jay
to.
was after what every person on Raw that has fought him in that main event scene, I felt like was a credible threat
Yeah.
because he's made it
Especially
feel
Sammy and Jay.
prestigious, and this
Yeah.
title reign has really defined who he is. Yes, he went the longest in that Rumble match. Then he started one all the way, got down to the last part. He
Mm-hmm.
did that as IC champion, right?
Yep.
So clearly,
I
he's
mean,
defining that championship. He's defining what an Intercontinental champion should look like,
he
should do,
definitely is.
how many
Yep.
defenses, and I don't mean no harm. What if he never loses? He says, and so, all right, so if he loses at SummerSlam, right? Who does he
Yeah.
lose it to? If he's not, and then by SummerSlam, what's that going to be? An extra 200 odd days? You think he goes for 1,000 days as champion, maybe? Because if he has 663 and it's roughly April, May, June, July, August, 5 times 30 is 150. So extra 150 more days.
Mm-hmm.
Who does he? Who dethrones him?
That's a good question.
And
I have no idea.
with a with a dominant champion as in Gunther, if Sheamus couldn't do it, Drew McIntyre, um, Ricochet, didn't what's his name? The big guy. What is he called? Big Bronson Reed. Didn't he have a title shot?
Yeah.
Chad Gable, Jay Uso, and I already said Drew McIntyre. If none of these people could dethrone him, that tells you who is going to be next and when does he drop it. So some people say
You,
SummerSlam. I said Bash in Berlin, but visa issues, he might can't travel because that to me, that main event writes itself. Him versus Elanov in Berlin, they probably would sell out just on them two as the main event. But
Dragunov needs to come up and have that feud. There's nothing left on him in NXT.
I'm gonna ask
He's
you this
beat
question:
everybody.
if he
Yeah.
does, what happens to them after the match? Does the prestigiousness drop off because now Ilyanov has it and now Gunther with that reign attached to him? Or does it elevate Ilyanov because he defeated the man with the reign? But remember, it took Ilyanov 2 tries to beat him.
I don't think it drops off because first of all, Ilya, he's coming off of being an NXT champion. Then we have the history between him and Gunther. Plus, like you said, Gunther has built that title to be one of the most prestigious titles in the industry right now. So if Ilya wins, he automatically gets that prestigiousness, that legacy attached to his name. Now, like as far as his run after that, we will have to see for sure. But they can go back and forth. They can have a nice little 2 out of 3 matches, or rivalry or whatnot. And to be honest, that'll elevate Gunther to the main event status. By that time, we'll have some things switched around. Maybe Drew McIntyre and you see him Punks and all that good stuff going on at SummerSlam, and then you can throw a Gunther in there. Towards the end of the year, going into Royal Rumble, into the next WrestleMania season. So that could elevate him to the next level.
But you realize one thing that you're forgetting.
It was like
Gunther held that NXT UK title for over
he did.
800 days.
He did, bro. He did.
Over 800 days. Now, granted, some of it was COVID time, but
Yeah.
remember, this was during the time when even Pete Dunne held it for a long time, too. But Gunther had it for almost 800 days, and
Damn.
Ilyanov dethroned him. And Triple H liked to sprinkle his own dust on stuff.
Yeah,
I'm just
always.
I just want to throw it out there. Yeah,
That is true.
something to
You
but
have
I
to throw
do
that
like the
extra seasoning
SummerSlam
out
thing.
there, like you put the crack on the chicken, the hip hop,
Hip hop, exactly.
hip hop.
Only only with you. Um,
Right.
I was great looking up for Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne had it 685 days.
Hmm.
Gunther had it for 870.
I would
Now
love to
this
see
is
Pete Dunne take it from him, honestly. But he's in that tag team now. Him with Tyler Bate.
I don't think Tyler Bate could take it from Dunne. I mean,
What
Bate
not?
couldn't take it from Ilya because the bigger match would be Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate because of they keep drumming up. If you notice, every time
Yeah, that's true.
they announce and they talk about their history they have together, and their
That is true.
history, they are the NXT UK version of like a Rock and Austin. I mean, yeah, or like a Rock and Triple H because they have so much history between each other, and some of their matches. If you just go watch the finals, the Crown NXT UK champion, you're like, oh, I didn't know Pete Dunne wasn't going to win, but he
Right.
had to get the belt off of him because what you call didn't want to sign a contract, and that was during the whole NXT um, type of time frame. But I think you answered my question. Does the wrestler make the belt prestigious? In Gunther's eyes, he did.
He
He
sure enough
does.
did.
A
Yep.
Shinsuke Nakamura, because of his global appeal and everything he's done, he made it prestigious, especially as King Nakamura. Big E made it feel prestigious because this was his second run and he felt a lot different, right?
Yep. Yep.
So check this comment out. It said, I heard from someone I watched that says Gunther shouldn't even drop that belt. That should that he should win the world heavyweight title and be in the IC and just vacate it because no one can beat him. So let's talk about that because remember that's
That's
what
similar
happened
to
with
what
Keith
I.
Lee.
That's similar to what I said with Roman at the time with the two belts.
Hmm.
Like, look, nobody can beat me. Let me drop him. Let me
Yeah,
drop
I'm
one of
good.
them.
I'm gonna go and take a vacation.
Yeah.
Y'all can
Right.
have at it. I'm gonna be gone for 90 days. Do whatever you want. But remember, it worked, and then it didn't work for Keith Lee because Triple H got a new toy in Karrion Cross, and it was like, I'm gonna just take this belt off you. And probably because Keith Lee was called to the, I don't know, we don't have the inner working, but I loved when Keith Lee didn't lose the North American title and he won the NXT World title. Now, my only problem with that, if he wins that, do he just say, here, toss it to the side and that's it? Because I kind of feel like with like even Oscar when they did it where she vacated the title because she changed shows. They usually do when somebody change shows, but I don't know. Do you think wrestling fans would be okay with that? That he won the world title and then just passed this along? Because what if Drew gets it and he beats Drew for the belt?
Mm,
Because Drew
that's
couldn't beat him.
crazy.
He couldn't beat him as a singles or in the triple threat.
The triple threat. That makes sense. Yeah.
That's something to think about. I think he just
That
gave
is
us something
something
to
to
think
think
about.
about. Hey,
But that
we
answers the
gonna,
next question. Does the title
what's
reign
that?
define a wrestler? Do you think Gunther will be defined by this title or just long reigns in general?
Oh, that's tough.
This is
Right
something
now,
I
he's
need
defined by
Dwayne to
that title.
answer. I
Yeah,
need Dwayne to answer this.
he's gonna have the notes for sure.
Is Gunther defined by this reign or just long reigns in general?
We're gonna have to put this one on the Twitter universe. Put
Okay.
it out there, or X universe, whatever it's called.
In the universe.
Right.
So the last thing we're going to discuss, brother, this takes us to our favorite segment that I know you like. I know you down to say it, right? All right, are you done?
I'm dying. I'm about to
You and
about to
down to
play
say
it
it.
right
So,
now.
ladies and gentlemen,
You ready?
this is
You
the
ready?
segment where he likes to say
Every belt has a story.
one more time for the people that one more time for the people that might have missed it. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Every belt has a story.
shout out to Dylan for getting us that graphic because we did figure out that's what The Rock told him. So
That's exactly what he said.
I've been on note to saying the Intercontinental title is one of my favorite designs, especially the oval I see. It.
Right.
Let me say this. A lot of people say it's their favorite belt because it relates to the time when they were watching wrestling. And it's usually connected to a lot of those memories. Hence why I think a lot of people love that Wing Eagle because they enjoy that time of wrestling. That's when they were truly wrestling fans. A lot of the heroes that they watched loved it. So hence why I like the IC belt. The Oval IC was always been my favorite. But
Hmm.
when I first saw this, I felt like, oh, they kept it in style of one of my favorite belts, the Undisputed Championship, the original WWE Undisputed Championship, because it was just black and gold. Everybody hated that belt. Oh, it's just black, it's just gold, it doesn't have anything to it. And now that you don't see it, that's the belt that's been reproduced. People order it the most. You see version
Right.
1, version 2, version 3, version 2.5, version 3.5. Even WWE Shop has released some. But when you look at this belt, now that I've said that, it kind of reminds you because of just the black and gold. Um, when we talk about every belt has a story, when I saw this debut, I said, well, that was different. I've seen it modified. I even thought about getting it on a white strap. I thought about painting the things blue, but I was like, I wouldn't do that to the Undisputed title. Why would I do it to this one? So when I
Right.
saw it on sale, and I always tell people, when you want to buy a WWE shop belt, wait, it's always going to be on sale. I might have to change that down because in the last 6 months, they had like one massive sale for like those signature series, and that was it. So
That is true.
the going price, I think, for most of their belts, either $399 or $429, $479, $499, depending on what it is. But I was able to get this belt for I think it was $230, and I was like, "Yep, that's the price I want to stick to." I ordered it, and when I got it, I instantly fell in love with it for a couple different reasons. One, the belt tip. I don't know if you can see it. They've been doing these custom things with the belt tips,
Hmm.
but the strap was pretty boring. But it does have the WWE and not in the snap box, but in what you call it box. But Shinsuke, of course, being one of my favorite wrestlers, because he was gifted this belt as the new version. Of course, I had to have it to add to my collection. And I remember seeing King Nakamura, Big E. I'm like, okay, cool. Reason I got his side plates, and we went into this a little bit about side plates. Most of my side plates have to be unique to the belt for me. I feel like Shinsuke Nakamura side plates just go with it so well. If you see, it's like a shuriken, and it has his name across it, and it has his
Right.
whole name. So I thought that was kind of neat. I'm like, oh yeah, this will look perfect on the side of the plate. Not to say anybody else won't, but guess what? He was the first person to hold it. The first person side plate's gonna have it. It is an
Right.
odd shape. It is raised on certain portions of it. So if you look, the actual globe on the side is raised, and it has the actual portions of the world. It has the I'm gonna call it the Triple H WWE in the middle because it's just a globe with no like world or anything in the middle behind it. The square represents kind of like the ring. So even if you turn it sideways, or like how Stephanie Hardy said about how her nameplate in the middle, I mean her belt had the ring in the middle. It does have these rivets that from a distance around it in the oval part, it makes it look like it's stones, but it's actually not. It's just literally the design of the plate. So when you look at it right up above it and going around, and it just has the big old. I know some people say it reminds me of a 24/7 title, but it just says Intercontinental and then champion at the bottom. And then everything about it is 4 millimeter minus the raised part. But it's a simple belt, but it serves its purpose. Nothing spectacular, nothing like overly colored. Ain't got to worry about nothing popping out. I will caution this when buying a WWE belt nowadays. They don't paint their belts anymore. Everything's like plastic inserts. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. Luckily, none of my stuff has popped out, but most of it, actually, this part might actually be paint. But most of them have like plastic inserts now in there. Like, and most of them, like the United Kingdom, the WWE, there's a lot of plastic inserted in there. But there's a story. If it was Shinsuke, I probably wouldn't have the belt. Of course, Big E, King Nakamura, I'm going to say that again. And of course, Gunta with his historic title reign is actually happening right now. So there's the story behind this belt, which brings us to our next thing. We have a contest going on now, right here.
We sure do.
We sure do. You want to talk about it, or you want me to talk some more about it?
You know I love your beautiful voice, so I would
Of
love for you
course.
to talk about it. But I'm gonna throw this up on the screen real quick. Boom.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if by April 15th you send us a 2 minute or less clip about, and you have to use the phrase, every belt has a story, and explain the story
Everybody.
behind your belt, you will be entered to win a big gold. When I say enter to win, that's one way that you can enter. So send us a
That's
2 minute clip to Championship Culture 2023 at Gmail with a 2 minute or less clip talking about every belt has a story and telling us the story behind your belt. That's one way to enter. Another way, go over to youtube.com/the wrestling room and become a subscriber. That gives you another way to enter. Then the third way, if you go to championship culture underscore on Instagram and follow us, that gives you a third entry. The drawing will be on April 30th, right? April
Yep.
30th on our live show. We're going to have a
Yep.
lot of special guests on that show. If you're interested in being a guest, shoot us an email, comment on this video, let us know because we're going to have some special guests on that show called Big Gold versus the World. On that show, we're going to pose that question that is the big gold. You know what? I ain't even going to take what the question is. Just let's run with the title. It's going to be called Big Gold versus the World. If you've seen any episodes of Championship Culture season 1, we did Big Eagle versus Wing Eagle. And we
Yep.
debated which one is more prestigious, which one is the better belt, which one is all of the above. Which one do you prefer? You name it, we talked about it. But on the 30th of this month, April 30th, we're going to do Big Gold versus the World. And at the end of that episode, we're going to have the live drawing for that Big Gold belt. I'm excited because I always say every belt is a story, right? So it's time to
That's
hear
right.
your stories.
So
Myself and you,
what you're saying is that belt is the greatest of all time, huh? It's the GOAT.
we're going to say this. You ain't gonna goat me into that. Sorry about the noise. You ain't gonna goat me into that. All I'm gonna say is this belt right here is
Mm-hmm.
seen more than probably any other belt. Has been seen
Mm-hmm.
more than any other belt. This belt, I wish I had Stephanie Hardy muscles to be able to sit here and hold it like she was
Right.
doing. Like
That's a big boy
I
right
can't
there.
even
Yep.
do it. Like she had it, but you remember she just ain't having it on her shoulder. She had it like popped out to the side with her
Right.
hand up the whole time, like she was just flexing on us.
All
So if you,
strength.
it was
Yep.
that Stephanie Hardy pose. I'm not even gonna attempt to do it because,
Mm-mm.
um, but I will say this about the Big Gold. It's a nice looking belt.
It is a nice looking
It's
belt,
a nice looking belt. It's been a
especially when I
nice
have it
looking
on
belt for
strap.
some years.
Yeah.
I think we got one expert that's going to talk about the early iteration of the belt. We got
Mm-hmm.
one expert going to tell you about the casual wrestling fan iteration about the belt. We
Yep.
got one that's going to tell us about the WCW version of the belt. So
Yep.
when I tell you it's going to be Big Gold versus the World, this is going to be sure that you do not want to miss. We hope that you would engage in the comments and add your comments about the I can say this word down, prestigious Big Gold.
It's gonna be like a NXT SummerSlam or WrestleMania. Yeah.
They might not get that reference.
Yeah. No, they don't get it.
That was last year, right?
That was last year, wasn't it? Yeah, it was last
Yeah,
year. We had
it felt like it was so long ago.
Undertaker, Cena, everybody showed up.
If Cody one day
Was
made an
Cody on there too?
announcement,
Yeah, Cody was
yeah, he
on there.
made an
Yep.
announcement. Everybody was just there. I think Vicky
They said,
Guerrero popped up,
yep.
Edge, Daniel Bryan, John Moxley, Chris Jericho, you name it all. They just said everybody that ever worked for WWE come back. They said we're
Right.
here.
I should have found that graphic and put it in here.
That what we're talking about last year. I don't know if y'all remember. It was that one show where AEW went head to head with NXT, and
NXT. Yeah.
NXT posted, "Oh, this person will be on NXT this week, and this person will be on NXT," and it became NXT WrestleMania because they said we want everybody. Paul Heyman was on there talking to what you call it, right?
Yep.
That's where Paul Heyman was
Yep.
on there. Yep. So there you have it. Appreciate everybody in the comments. I think did we answer those questions. I just want to make sure we answered that question. That does the wrestler make the belt prestigious? Depends
Well,
on
in
who's
this
holding
case,
it.
yes. Yeah.
So for the IC belt, yes. Does the title reign define a wrestler?
Hmm.
Mm.
That's crazy.
Because remember, the question is, did this title reign define Gunther, or is Gunther defined by his long reigns?
Hmm.
And
Well. y'all keep your eyes and ears open because that question will be posted, like I said, on X, and we would love to hear y'all feedback. So make sure y'all tune in at the Wrestling Realm at the Wrestling Realm. That's with two W's, and let us know what you think.
Because we would love to hear your comments. So, Hugh, tell them where they can find us.
Oh yeah, we can
Oh,
find us at. I'm going straight to Championship Culture, baby. You can find us at Championship Culture underscore on IG and on YouTube /Wrestling Realm Championship Culture playlist. If you want to check us out on our flagship show, you can find us on YouTube at The Wrestling Realm, on X at The Wrestling Realm, Facebook, IG, we're everywhere at The Wrestling Realm. Like I said, two W's. Check us out. Look us up. Boom. There it is.
We got to address this comment before we get out because he made a good point. He said two things can be right at the same time in that case. So
That is true.
I think
That is
he's
exactly
saying
true.
the wrestler made the belt procedures and it has defined them. Good,
Yeah.
good take on it. I mean, that actually does make sense. I was
In
just
this
trying to
case, it
say
does make sense. Yeah.
because it doesn't apply to everybody because the title reign defined Sami Zayn because when he became undisputed, that whole storyline was what really defined that era of Sami Zayn. And Sami, I think that's when we first start to see his range because before that, it was like the heel of, all right, it's Sami, here we go. Born music, and it was like, okay, cool, not a problem. But Apollo Crews fell flat. I'm going to just keep saying that because I really wanted more. Braun
I
Strowman,
wanted more from him too, but I liked his reign.
you did?
Yeah,
I
I
like
kind of
his
liked it.
U.S.
It
reign
was,
better
it
than
was.
that.
I think it was just because he was being utilized.
Okay,
You know, he got a
fair.
chance to shine at that point in time. I didn't like the gimmick behind the reign, but yeah, I like the fact that he was a heel. He gave us something different, and he was on our TV screen because he's a
Yeah, because
great
we really
wrestler.
didn't have a good mid card healer at that time,
Yeah, we didn't. I think
especially
he
the
did a
Big
great
E.
job.
He kind of took Big E there. Remember when he slapped him? He was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
we're doing this now."
yeah, yeah.
So he was definitely that. But I think that brings us to the part you can tune in every Tuesday at
Every
8 p.m.
Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. And next week on Championship Culture, um, is it is it back to a special guest?
Hey, we'll
Hmm.
see. I'm
It might
thinking
be
we're back
maybe
to a
two.
special guest, but
Back to a special guest.
hmm
Okay. So if you get a chance, check us out on youtube.com/the wrestling room. Don't forget about the big gold giveaway. And just like I always say, every belt has a story and can't wait to hear yours.
oh yeah. Too bad I can't find it right now. You know I can't
Okay,
find it. I'm
it's
gonna take my time. I'm gonna take my time. Hold on. Let me find it. Let me find it.
I didn't even tell them about the belt fiasco that I had.
Oh
I
well,
may have to
let's talk about it. Let's
while
talk
you
about it real
looking for
quick.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I
looking for it. Looking for it.
you can't find it. I don't want to make
I
too
can't
much
find it.
noise. Ladies and gentlemen, we was trying to
No,
sign off and it was a perfect sign off. But he wasn't ready.
I wasn't
Yeah.
ready.
So before the
Uh-uh.
show started, and this is something you can clip off on social too, by the way, because I'm actually like was about to cry real tears. I was moving some belts around, and one of my belts fell, and it was the piece up here is now broke. So it looked like it's going to snap off. And this is I don't
Yeah.
know if you can see it. It's a 4 millimeter belt, but this is my first custom title, the Intergalactic Championship. This piece is completely bent down because how it fell. So I don't want to touch it. So now I'm just had to sit it in a display case and not touch it ever again. Because
Oh, that's tragic.
yeah, this is my first one. Still looks good though.
Yeah, she does look good.
Still looks good.
It's okay, baby. You'll be
Are
good.
you? Are we good? You want me to try this again?
Oh yeah, we can try it again.
Okay. So once again,
Bye.